Hello, people of the internet. This is a video a long time coming, but hopefully not a long time running. I'm going to try and keep it short for you. There's been an account online that's been stirring up drama on and on for a couple years now, I guess since Zach joined Netflix. It's trying to appear as though it's an official Netflix account. It's doing everything it can to brand itself like one. In fact, it even ripped off the name of another account that used to be official that was called What's on Netflix, but this is What on Netflix when you look at the Twitter handle, the @ if you will. This account has been rooting for Zack Snyder to fail since he showed up there. And recently they started trying to claim that the Army of the Dead sequels and the animated prequel were canceled. And they aren't. But they don't have any sources. So we're going to talk about their falsified information, who their sources claim to be, which we know that it's BS, and a whole bunch of other stuff along the way. So the article in question this time around, because they have multiple writers on this, again, fan-run, not official account, was written by Jacob Robinson. And like every other person who seems to hate Zack Snyder, he's a middle-aged, balding white dude with a beard and glasses. I mean, the Big Al's Toy Barn visual aesthetic of his haters just continues on. It's like they make them in a factory. Anyway, so he's saying that Army of the Dead sequels and animated series were quietly killed off. And just before we even get into who his source was and how incredibly irresponsible this reporting is, if you wanted to call it anything other than just spiteful and intentional misinformation, that is. Here's some other hit tweets he has. This was about recent things. When he got called out for being a fan-run account with no real source, he said, "Do you honestly think we want Snyder stuff to be bad? Sure, when a product is bad, it's easy to write about it. But it's far more enjoyable to write about something you enjoy. Sadly, Snyder hasn't made anything on Netflix worthy of praise, and the numbers reflect that." Before we go further, let's look at that. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon delivers solid debut for Netflix. A Child of Fire, the first half of the director's two-parter, garnered almost 24 million views in its first 3 days. Let's compare that to 4 million U.S. households watching The Suicide Squad in the first 10 days, and 584,000 watching the season finale in 4 days. So, clearly it did well. In fact, when the second part of the PG-13 cuts hit Netflix, not only did it stay at number 1 for months, but part 1 came back and landed at number 5 and number 3 in over 25 different countries. So the idea that the numbers are bad for this is hilarious because, as we know, the director's cuts were they were just for the fans and Zack Snyder himself. It was artistic integrity. It's like the extended edition on a DVD, but Netflix doesn't do DVDs anymore. I remember when they did. I remember when you had to use a disc to watch Netflix on the Wii. It was weird, but it worked, I guess. So he already blew out all these other movies. Like, he just decimated them with part 1 and part 2, and that was the same budget to make the director's cuts. So every view he gets for the director's cuts is just a bonus. So anyway, let's go and see what else he said about Zack Snyder. "I really wanted to love Army of the Dead, but sadly for me it's the most disappointing movie since Justice League," which he's not talking about Joss Whedon's. "Snyder knows how exactly to make a movie look incredible, but poor dialogue and equally bad writing ruined Army of the Dead." Which is weird because I remember a lot of the headlines saying, hey, Zack Snyder finally found out what he's good at, zombie action genre movies, keep him away from superheroes. So this dude couldn't even pretend to like him long enough to try and skirt him away from his precious men in spandex. And of course, so Zack Snyder's Justice League was pretty much what I expected, a polished turd. Mind you, this is one of the highest rated DC movies ever by critics and by fans, and was universally praised by people who don't like Zack Snyder and people who do as being drastically better than the Joss Whedon version. "It's a massive improvement on the theatrical cut, and I'm glad this film exists as we need more director's cuts to be released, but overall, it's a self-indulgent, bloated bore of a movie." That's not self-indulgent. They asked him to do this. He had a 2-hour 14 cut. That was his original cut, and they said, you know what? We're a streaming service. We need all the hours we can get for people to have their eyes glued to only our service. That's good for our metrics. Make it as long as you want it. Put everything but the kitchen sink and Jon Stewart in it. So you can't blame Zack for making the thing Warner Brothers asked him to make. You stupid fuck. Anyway, let's get into the sources for that article, because luckily an incredible account who also has their own YouTube channel, and you should 100% give them twice as many views as you've ever given me. Here we go. The Brazilian hub for all. Fact checked. Be very careful with this type of headline. News like this spreads as truth quickly. And the statement was an inference from the Wrap editorial. Pause, because there's more to this. The Wrap, you might realize, as the rag that published Humberto Gonzalez's claims that a professor from the University of Maryland had a team study Snyder fans and decided that most of his fans were robots and that they had rigged the Oscar elections and so on and so forth. Only for, during the writing of the Snyder Cult books, for our research team to reach out to that specific named professor who said that he had been studying Tesla stock, never looked at anything Snyder related, and he didn't have a research team at all, let alone for what Humberto was claiming. So the Wrap, already dubious even when they claim to have a source. And in this case, it was them speculating. In other words, nothing we don't already know about the animated series, which is in limbo due to technical problems. That being that during COVID, the Las Vegas animated project was being animated, and the animation studio that had been given that project went under financially. That means there's a bunch of partially animated stuff, which means it's harder than greenlighting animation because there's partially finished animation. So you have to match what they're doing. You have to match their style, their workflow. It's very complex, and it's tricky. And also, Netflix has made it very clear that they think Rebel Moon is their next big cash cow, and so they're really invested in that. Zack Snyder has even said that every time he brings up other projects, Netflix is always like, yeah, but can you do another Rebel Moon? Which adds this whole Rebel Moon and Army of the Dead are flops bullshit being just speculation and wishful thinking by people who don't like Zack Snyder. Just last week, Zack Snyder talked about what Planet of the Dead will be in an interview with Hollywood Handle, Tom MCJL. Great guy, by the way, that Tom. Super nice guy. You guys should follow him if you're online. The interviewer from The Wrap expressed his opinion, something that he thinks without any report, just his thoughts based on what he thinks. The website What's on Netflix published it as if it were a report from the platform itself. The source used by What's on Netflix website is nothing more than speculation and guesswork by the Wrap interviewer. A careful reading of the original text proves this. Boom, fact-checked. So, as much as I already knew it was bullshit, it's really nice when someone else does the legwork and gets all the receipts for me. I super duper appreciate that. Seriously. It's so helpful. So, What's on Netflix is not an official account. The Wrap isn't trustworthy even when they say they have a source, and this one didn't have a source. It was just speculation. So, for the love of God, stop listening to these fools and stop worrying. Don't go attack Dan Lin. Don't get mad at Netflix. Nothing bad actually happened. It's all being blown out of proportion and lied about. And you know why? Because they know that Snyder fans can work together and put the heat on a studio to do the right thing. And they're making it sound like we need to piss off the studio right now. And we don't. They didn't actually fuck anything up. Except for, you can argue the releases could have been done a different way. There's a lot of moving parts of that conversation, which is why we're not having it in this video. But they're not screwing Zack over. Zack is stoked. He gets to have, super cool art galleries. He's getting, video games and shit. He's having a blast. He's living his dream. He doesn't give a shit about views. He's there to make the art he likes. And Netflix is getting the numbers they want, so they're happy to keep him. Sure, I'd love a wider theatrical release for his stuff. But honestly, if he's happy and I get to watch what I want to watch, I don't really care. I'll just set up a super cool theater room sometime in the near future, and that'll be how I watch the movies I like. No big deal. So, don't stress out. Don't take unofficial accounts as biblical truth, please. And seriously, look at the numbers, look at the facts, look at the sources on this shit. How long have we had people lying about Zack Snyder? Why are people believing this shit now? No, he doesn't need to go to Amazon. Sure, I'd like to see him at Universal just because they're a cool-ass studio. They make Fast and Furious and Riddick movies. I'm all into that shit. But this isn't a reason to break up with his current girl, with Netflix. It's fine. The only problem we have here are with middle-aged dudes who look like they're running Big Al's Toy Barn and are going to steal your toy Woody from a garage sale. That's the only problem here. So don't stress, have a good one, and go fucking rewatch these dope-ass movies. We all know everyone has Netflix, so go turn on Army of the Dead. Go watch Rebel Moon, PG-13 or R, whatever you prefer. It's a fucking all-you-can-eat buffet, and you get to pick what you want to eat. Go enjoy, all right? We didn't have to fight for these cuts. They were contractually obligated to fund them. They were baked into the original contract. That's awesome, and it's the way more things should be. Stay safe, stay cool, go enjoy Rebel Moon.